Okay, let's go ahead and do some of the preliminary styling for this screen. And I'm going to go ahead and just hide this reference layer, and we're going to start working and creating our own layers. Let's start with just giving this an entire white background. So I'm just going to get a layer new. We'll create a new layer, and I'm just going to call this BG. Okay, and I'm going to use my rectangle marquee tool, and I usually just like to fill a color by dragging this over the entire canvas and then selecting my foreground color as white, and we're just going to fill this color in with that white. Alright, and then we have that background color. I'm going to make sure, drag this reference layer to the top, make sure that stays on the top, so when we do need to look at it, we can actually see it. So first thing we need to do is create this top bar separation where we have our title and then our segmented control. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom in, Control or Command plus, and I want to zoom in, scroll to the top so I can see a bit better. I'm going to zoom in once more. Let's zoom back out, actually, stay at 100%. And we're going to grab our rectangular marquee tool, and I want to do this because I want to measure this out. So we're going to make sure that we drag this from anywhere outside and just start dragging all the way down. And I want to go down to 309 or 310 pixels. So there's 310 pixels. Now I say 309 pixels or 310 pixels because that gray line is that far down. So if I did 309 pixels, the gray line needs to go on the outside or the bottom side, and 310 pixels, we need to put the gray line on top of this marching ant section. So let's just go ahead. We're going to zoom in. And actually we can zoom in a little bit. We don't really need to because we're going to come down here to our shape tool and we're just going to grab the line tool. Now with the line tool selected, we need to make sure that everything's set up. So make sure that your weight is 1 pixel, which is the size of that line. And a quick reference really quickly, if we zoom in all the way in on this document to 3200, which is as far as you can zoom in, and I scroll up and find that gray line, well, I'm clearly can see that this is 1 pixel because it's one little square. So if you ever want to figure out exactly how big something is and get really pixel perfect with your design, well, go ahead, zoom into 3200%, which is the max here, and you can tell literally. So I'm just going to zoom back out. Don't want to be that close. I'm going to hide this reference layer, and I'm just going to use my line tool, make sure the weight is at 1 pixel and that I'm drawing a shape. So select shape, and let's change this fill color. And with the fill selected, we can come over here to our color picker, and I'm just going to type this out. And our color is just B2, 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 and it's this light but yet somewhat dark gray color. So let's go ahead and do that. And without further ado, I'm just going to come down here. It doesn't matter because we can change it in a second. And while holding shift to make sure it's a straight line, I'm just going to drag this all the way through the canvas and make sure that we're all the way there. So there, I have my gray shape. Now I want to make sure that I am right on where it needs to be, and it is. So I dragged this down to 310. I dragged my rectangular marquee down to 310, so I needed to make sure that this was sitting just on top of these marching ants, these dotted lines, and it is. So that line's perfect, and we have now done that. Now really quickly, what I want to do is fill this top color in with something a little darker. We'll do a light gray for now so we can separate the white background below from the top section here. And to do that, instead of just drawing another rectangle and making sure we're above this, we know that this needs to contract by 1 pixel so we can fill in this top layer. So let's just go up here to select, and we're going to modify and select contract. Now I want to contract this by 1 pixel and select OK. There we go. Now you can see that we are now on top of this gray line as opposed to the bottom. And from here we can just zoom out. I'm going to zoom back out a ways. Okay, I'll go back into 100%. And we have the selection we need, so let's just create a new layer really quickly. I'm just going to hit Control or Command Shift N to create a new layer. And let's call this Top BG. Alrighty, and I'm just going to fill this in with a nice gray color. And let's grab our color picker, our foreground color, and let's just get something rare, very subtle. I'm going to do an F8, F8, F8. You know, just drag something really light for now, just so when we fill this like this, we can see that subtle difference now. And we've thus now created this little distinction between the top and the bottom. And if I hit Control or Command D to deselect, we can see we have that nice little line running down at the bottom with that gray stroke. So lastly, we're not going to recreate the status bar. We've already done that. We know how to do that. And most importantly, we know that we don't need to do that. So we're just going to, let's add the text up here, the dashboard text, and then we'll go on and make the segmented control. I want everyone to grab, go up to view actually, and we're going to select new guide. Okay, and I just want to make sure that we go from the left, and we're going to go 494 pixels. So 494 pixels. Okay, and I want y'all to make sure that y'all have a vertical guide selected. And I've already measured this out, so I know that this is exactly where we need the left end of our dashboard text to be touching. So let's go ahead, we're going to grab one more guide. So select new guide. And I want to do 108 pixels. And let's make sure this one is set to horizontal. And this is simply going to give us the intersection where I want my letters to be touching. So right here, this is going to be the top of it. So let's grab our text tool and go ahead and drag this out down here. Okay. And let's make sure that we have Helvetica text selected, the Helvetica font, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to grab Helvetica, not Helvetica New. It seems that Apple has gone back either to like a custom Helvetica that they're using, but back from the Helvetica New. So let's just use Helvetica plain right now. I have the light selected, but that's going to change. And let's just write dashboard. And go figure, we can't see it. Well, that's because it's not black. It's this light gray color. So let's drag this down. Let's just make it black. There we go. Now, the spacing I have -1 is the letter spacing, and the size is 50 pixels, which is actually good. All we need to do is change this to regular, make it a little bit thicker, make sure that this is dragged right here at the top. And if we want to be exact, you know, we can go in, zoom in as much as we want, make sure that this bad boy is touching right up on the edge of these guides, and we can see that we are pixel perfect as far as touching this intersection with the dashboard. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to make sure that the reference layer is at the top, and I want to open that up. And yep, the reference layer, we can see we have that dashboard there. We have the line there, so looking pretty good. Now we can go ahead and make this red segmented control and get into a little bit more fun stuff within this screen.